I'm in Les Herbiers at the Prestige facility at the exclusive launch of the new X60. Now this is the second model in the X range, and actually if we swing over here, sitting in the test tank is the X70. So this was based on the 690 Flybridge. It came out last year, so they used the same hull, same running gear to create this very different take on a sort of 70-foot Flybridge, with the focus being on splitting the main deck very evenly between internal and external space, and this pretty amazing sort of aft cockpit area. And what they've done now is using the 590 as a base, which very helpfully is over here. So this is the standard Prestige 590 Flybridge from their Flybridge range. They've created the X60. So these two boats use exactly the same hull, they use the same drivetrains, Cummins 600 horsepower on V drives, all with the Zeus pods, but a very different layout from the main deck upwards. Lower deck is the same layout, the cabin arrangement is the same, but from the main deck things get very, very different. So we'll have a look at this new model and then we can get onto the 590 just to show you exactly where those differences lie and what you're getting with this boat, because it is sort of 20%, maybe a bit more expensive than the 590. Starting price is 1.39 million euros excluding VAT. But it's really interesting to have them back to back so we can see exactly what it is they've done differently on this model. So let's jump on board and have a look. Now the major difference between the two models is seen here really at the aft end, where you have this hydraulic bathing platform and you have this optional flip down sofa. So you can see this section here flips up against the transom so you can stow it away, because obviously the tender also mounts on this hydraulic platform, but then you can drop this down and you have this great sort of waterside sunbathing space. Above you have a Fusion stereo which you connect to using your mobile phone, that's all Bluetooth wireless obviously, and then in here this is actually a dedicated storage space for a sea bob. You can also get a charging point in there as well, so you can charge it in situ. Now there is a crew cabin as an option on this boat. If you don't have the crew option, this is just a storage area. But we'll pop down and have a look. So you walk straight down into the shower room. This is a wet room. The shower head just pulls out there, and you can see you've got a drain in the bottom there, and then the actual sleeping space is through this quite narrow entrance, but then actually it opens up into a relatively good space. You've got a single berth here, a bit of wardrobe storage at the end, and controls here for air conditioning. I mean, the majority of these boats will probably be owner run, and we'll come on to that later in terms of the way this boat's designed and the way it's designed to be driven, but this is an option if people do want some crew. So we head back out of here. Now Prestige's own photographer is actually taking some photos at the moment, so he's got some equipment up, but we can avoid that. If we move along the bathing platform, you see here the steps are actually built in to the platform. So as the platform goes down, they create a nice step down into the sea. This is a mounting point for the overhead shower. So you have a shower that clips in there, and then you've actually got a proper overhead shower to use down here. But if you just want a quick hose off after you've been for a swim, there is a deck shower that pulls out of here. And then you get this great effect of this sort of glass transom. Gives you that sort of infinity feel out from the cockpit. And now we're getting into the crux of what this boat is about. It's this single level living where the cockpit and the saloon meld together really, really well, to the point where they've got asymmetric decks, so they could have this sliding door on this side, so you can actually get straight out onto the side decks, out the side of the saloon, as well as through the aft doors as you would normally. It gives a really nice flow to the way this boat fits together, especially when you account for the fact you have a side door up by the helm, which we'll have a look at later. And this is really the view that they want to push, this looking out over the terrace, this infinity view over the cockpit. There's a few different configurations you can have here in the cockpit. This is one of them obviously, but you can have fixed seating, and a sun pad and a proper dining table. It's really quite modular, and they want to give people the opportunity to express themselves with the way the boat is laid out, so that they can amend it to however they want to use it. But this is a nice setup, and these are quite clever. They're just weighted down. They're not actually fixed, these backrests, so you can move them around all over the boat. They're just weighted, so you don't have to slot them in anywhere, but you can make them backrests, you can make them armrests, and you can move them about the boat as you wish. Under here is engine room access. We'll obviously have a look at that later on. But I think what we'll do is we'll continue down the port side deck. As I said, they are asymmetric. There's boarding gate on this side, so you can open that straight up to get out onto the dock on that side if you're alongside too. If we look under here, you have the diesel filler caps nicely hidden away, and they drain away down into the bilges if there is any spillages when you're filling up. And what's really nice about having this kind of one large side deck on the port side is it's really, really wide, and it's well covered as well. So you've got good protection moving down here, and despite the fact that this is a very substantial and very high railing, you've also got this to grab onto all the way along. It's a nice extra feature, nice extra safety feature. You do feel very secure moving down here because you've got something overhead and you've got these nice high railings. Then when you get right forward, a few steps up, and again, railings come to meet you, and they're not quite as high as they are further back, but they're still at knee level, and you've always got something to grab onto here, which is a nice feature. And this is an area that they've put particular focus on this boat, is this sunken foredeck. They wanted to make it really usable and really sociable. So it hasn't got a traditional layout in any sense, to be honest. You step down into it, you have these sun pads with flip up backrests, so you can create a dinette if you wish, like it's set up now. That table removes, so you can take that out of the way completely. But it's nice that you sort of sink down a bit like a fire pit. You sit down, you've got these pop-up lights for a bit of light in the evening, and there's also a canopy that covers this entire area, so you can see the mounts there. They stow aft, they have a canopy overhead, so you have some shade. You can actually use that at speed as well. You don't have to take it down if you're going to move the boat from bay to bay. You can leave that in place, particularly nice if you're moving along at displacement speed. And then access to the anchor lockers is actually under these cushions, so these just lift up, and then you have massive identical lockers on either side. So there's another hatch on the other side that's exactly the same. Good to see this little rail here, so you can tie the fender tails to those so that they don't get lost down in the bowels of what is an enormous anchor locker. Put that back down. But yeah, just putting cushions over those just makes it a bit more usable space. And I like the gauge of all that mooring gear as well. Look at the size of those fair leads with built-in rollers. Really substantial stuff for what is only a sort of 60-foot boat. It does feel bigger than that because of this layout, I have to say. This hatch is for the forward cabin. You can see down there, that's for ventilation down in that cabin. And this is just quite a shallow storage void, but a good place to chuck cushions, covers, the odd rope, things like that. And this to me feels a bit like a wasted opportunity. This is a very big piece of real estate here that's not really got anything on it. That talked about solar panels, but they said there just isn't enough space there to make the solar panels worthwhile to generate any useful power to run the boat's domestic supply. You've got a couple of small hatches up there for ventilation on the main deck. Maybe a sunroof would have been a better way to go. I don't know, this just feels like a bit of a missed opportunity in terms of use of space on this boat, but you can really see the angle of the windscreen that you notice so clearly when you stand and see this boat's profile. It's a really, really steep inward rake. Really is quite distinctive from side on. And you can see here this starboard side deck, so this is blocked off. And then you have that extra space in the saloon. The saloon gobbles up into that space. And we'll see how that works up on the Flybridge as well. Nice little detail here, these cup holders sunk down into the upholstery itself. Nice touch, and these blue lights run all the way along. Should give a really nice effect in the evening. So we'll make our way back down the port deck. And we will head straight up onto the Flybridge. Before we do that though, I must just point out that there is a wing station here for the joystick. So as I said, this boat can have a joystick either with shafts or with Cummins pods, the Zeus pods. This is actually a shaft drive boat on V drives. We'll see those when we go into the engine room. But you've got a wing station here. I presume you could have one on the other side because they're the same shape locker. But it just means if you're berthing stern 2 in the Mediterranean, for example, you're here in a really good position to look aft and see the proximity of the stern to the quayside. Very neat. And nice here as well to see again, you've got decent sized mooring gear and then these just rope lockers to run the rope tails into, so they're nice and tidy away. So the Flybridge. Under the steps you've got a fridge here. So with the midships galley you don't have to go right forward to grab a drink, you can have some drinks cooling in there. And then it's a nice staircase. I like the way it's sort of integrated into the mouldings at the start and then it begins to float. Really substantial banisters either side. Looks really smart. And this is another area where the boat feels very different to the 590. So the layout is different, but also there's a sort of elevated feeling of style and quality. The interior design of this boat previously was designing villas and high-end hotels, and this boat has that feel. This sort of stone effect finish on the table looks and feels absolutely lovely. The chairs are really comfortable but light, stylish. However, these gaps in the tabletop might prove a bit of an issue if you spill, say, a glass of red wine and it's going straight through onto the teak, which may be a bit of an issue. However, looks great, and like on the cockpit downstairs, there's real flexibility with this layout, so you can arrange this pretty much how you want. If you want the dining table aft, you can have it. If you want sort of low slung seating and a coffee table, you can have it. I like this setup because you have your dining space underneath the shelter of the hardtop and then pure sunbathing space aft. Again, there is a canopy that attaches here. You can see there are pole mounts aft here, so you can have a floating canopy here if you prefer a bit of shade back here, but that will work really effectively. Hardtop is standard with the sunroof. That's standard fit on this boat. You can see how it's a full fiberglass hardtop, very, very substantial uprights, and again there's some support forward as well. This is the wet bar. This means you can serve guests up here really easily. It's nicely done as well. Feels high quality. All the components, that's a nice high quality tap. Kenyan grill, and you can have your usual mix of sort of ice maker, fridge, whatever you want up here. There's a bit of flexibility there, but good position to serve those who are sitting at this table. And forward you just have a bit of seating space, and that's nicely arranged because it means that if you're driving the boat from up here on passage, people can sort of gather around the skipper and navigator, and other people can sit along and enjoy the journey. And this is a new console design for Prestige, and I like it. Everything's a bit more upright, it's a bit closer to the helmsman and the navigator. Everything's within easy reach and really clearly presented. You've got a helm bench, but they're almost sort of individual seats because you've got these armrests. This is a sort of longer distance cruiser. It's no speed machine, so sort of comfort on passage is really what it's about, and that helm layout, from looking at it here, looks well suited to do that. So that's the top deck. If we head back down, we can explore the main deck. And again, that elevated style really hits you in the face on this deck. This feels very, very different to the standard 590. This sofa here can move, you can move that around, you can put it sort of across here if you want to dine. Obviously this table opens up and it goes up and down electronically, so you can switch it between dining table and coffee table. And there is a more high-end feel in here, for sure. Television tucks away here. So that just pops up from that position there. I really like the lighting in this boat. And notice they've got sort of nice lacquered woodwork here, then you've got suede, and you've got this strip lighting, and you've got the detailed sort of spotlights that are repeated all over the boat, but you've got them over the galley. Really, really smart. Here you have selection of controls for lighting and pumps, and then you have the boat's digital management system where you have control here for battery levels, tank levels, lighting, generator. You can all control it from here. It's all in one place, quite conveniently located right by the cockpit. Now, like the 590, you have separate access to the master cabin. We'll go down there at the end of the interior tour. Let's head forward for now. We have a midships galley, and it's split. So you have some of the galley over this side, and then you have refrigeration, wine cooler example, on this side to port here. So it's split across, but it is a big galley. And there's lots of space. You haven't got domestic size sort of full height fridge freezer, but you've got these two very big cooling drawers, wine fridge here, as I mentioned. Lots of storage. This boat has a dishwasher. And this is quite a clever use of space. You know, this would just be worktop, but they have got these couple of drop down sections. So if you're really preparing a lot of food, you can hide all this away and you have more worktop. Obviously this goes completely flush, but then you could hide, like they've done, coffee machine here or some wine. You can have it stashed away here. Really effective use of space. An induction hob here, reasonable sized oven as well for this size of boat. And then you have your lower helm. Nice stylish double bench. Feels really lovely to the touch. Very comfortable, high quality. Quite a simple helm design. Got the two Garmin MFDs sort of sprouting out of the dash, and that's really when you control most of the boat's functions. Navigation obviously, but also engine controls will go through there. This boat's got the twin throttles, Cummins obviously, and then your joystick again here. There's a joystick upstairs as well as the wing station, which I showed you out in the cockpit. It's a nice view from down here. It works really well, and these are those hatches that we saw from the outside. Again, you can just see there's a bit of an expansive space here. Could they have done something with that space? Possibly. But this is a good area. I think you'll find people gravitating to here of an evening. And again, if you're passage making from inside, if the weather's not great, this is a nice place. You're elevated, you can see forward, you can talk to the captain. Yeah, nice area that. And then if we move forward, we're into the guest accommodation. So right forward you have the VIP, and this boat's actually got split berths. You can see there's a little split there, so you can pull them apart to make twins, but if you have them together, they make a good sized double that's set nice and low, so easy to get into. Headroom's really good in this space, and you begin to pick up that detailing. You know, that sort of pattern on the headboard there, the bendy lights, the sockets down there, USB and traditional sockets right by the bed, so you can charge devices really easily. Lots of storage. The big auto illuminating hanging locker on this side, and you have the same on the other side. And this is almost walk-in. Certainly more than just a normal wardrobe, and I like this storage configuration here. That works really nicely. Now this boat doesn't have a television because it's going to the States, so they don't fit the TVs here, so that's why you've got this blank space here. But this is also a little bureau to store makeup, etc. And then this cabin is actually en suite to the day heads. So through here you find the day heads. See, this is the access door that lets you in from the main hallway. You can close that. And then you have a big shower compartment. That's a really good size because it also drops down to boost headroom even more. There's a little seat in there. And this is a nice use of Corian here. Quite sort of bold pattern and colour, but works really well. And again, the taps are really smart. Just feels a little level up from what you're used to from the standard Prestige line. Lots of storage in here as well, under the sink and also behind the mirror at eye level. So that's access back to the VIP. Close that. You're back into the hallway, and across there is the twin guest cabin. 2 single beds. You know, decent enough size. See, the floor drops down, so you do have full standing headroom even between the beds. And again, it's got a decent size hanging locker. which again auto illuminates. Nice third cabin that. Headroom really is very good, certainly in this doorway. Loads of space above my head and throughout actually. You know, it's quite a tall boat from the outside, but you feel the benefits in this interior. And if we head back up, we'll have a look at the master cabin. Now, like the 590, you have separate access to the master cabin, so all your guests stay up forward and then you have access direct from the saloon to your little oasis as the owner. And again, no TV in this cabin. There would be a flat screen television there, and then you're down into the main cabin, and the detailing down here is very, very nice. You've got this X motif here in the door handles, loads of storage. It really is sort of four-man function. Things look good, but it's a practical, usable cruising boat as well. Again, you notice that same motif behind the bed that you have in the VIP cabin. This is obviously your venting for the air conditioning, quite subtly integrated above the bed there. Even down here they've managed to find a bit of storage. Full standing headroom all round, and actually where the steps up, so does the ceiling, so I can still stand up straight even when I come into the cabin and step up onto this step. Nice island berth. That berth is a good size. And again, more big drawer storage this side. You know, customers will live aboard these things, so storage space really is key for clothing and bags, for example. There's drawer storage underneath the bed. You can sling bags in. And then you have this really impressive full walk-in wardrobe. Now this has got two glass doors into the shower. It's a bit of a strange arrangement. You can just have a solid door here with a full-length mirror on it, which I think most people will probably find more useful than being able to access the shower from both sides. But this is quite a luxury on a 60-foot boat to have this amount of hanging storage and drawer storage. Safe box in here as well. And they use sliding doors as well. Clever way of maximising the space and making sure that doors don't open up and gobble up the space. Very effective. And just have a look at that shower head. Absolutely enormous, with lights built in. Really, really smart. Just the sort of thing you're not used to seeing on Prestiges, to be honest. And again, just elevates that feeling of luxury and quality. This is a really good size, this ensuite. Obviously you've got, you know, opening vent window behind that blind there. Lots of storage at eye level, and underneath the sink, and again that use of Corian. Lovely. That's a great cabin. So back out of there, and the last place to look is the machinery space. Actually, before I do that, just point out this is where you've got your fuel shut-offs all lined up down here, and in fact behind these cupboards there's all access to the fuse boards. So that's really easy accessed, and it's nice to have those in a really clear, obvious place if you need them in an emergency. So the last piece of the jigsaw, obviously the engine room, accessed via this large hatch here in the cockpit. And I have to say, this is an astonishing size in this sector. Full standing headroom throughout. And these Cummins blocks, 8.3 litre, are really quite small. So you stand over them, you can see all around them, you can pretty much get around them, and you know, really easy to access and work on. This is predominantly an owner-run boat, as I said. So you'll be able to access the Seakeeper 9 down here, which is optional, and the generator, and work on things and see things easily is absolutely crucial if you haven't got a crew member to do that. 2 fuel tanks here. Combined fuel capacity is 2,200 litres. Top speed on this boat is, it's slower than the 590 because it's heavier, so you're probably looking at sort of 25, 26 knots, cruising at 22 knots for a range of around 250 miles. So as I said, no speed machine, but that really is informed by customer feedback. So Prestige say customers just aren't cruising at those high speeds anymore, and It's about cruising more slowly, more comfortably, with a decent range. Really good to see these very easily accessed fuel filters with clear bowls, so you can really easily inspect the fuel. Yeah, it's an impressive machinery space. Access really is very good. Easy to get in and out, and easy to get to most of the ancillaries and the engine parts as well. And as I said, this is the V-Drive version. You can just see the shaft there coming out and shooting back that way, but you can have the Zeus pods and they just go straight through the hull. It's rear-facing propellers on the Zeus pods compared to IPS, where you have forward-facing propellers, but the same effect, that sort of pod vectoring effect. But this shaft drive with joystick has proven quite popular for its simplicity, and a lot less expensive to maintain when it comes to servicing, having a pair of shafts than a pair of pods. So that's the X60. Now, just in way of comparison, so you can see how these two styles, based on the same hull, compare. So a quick squiz around the 590. Same hull, same engines, same lower deck layout, but a very different style in that it's a traditional Flybridge, so you can just see the difference between the cockpits. So you have traditional seating here. Actually, this is a bit different than a sort of normal Flybridge because you have this extended sunbed. But you get the idea, much more formulaic. And as we go into the saloon, okay, it's very nice, but it just doesn't have that same style, shall we say, as the X60. The Galley is aft as opposed to amidships. There's your separate access down there to the master cabin. All of your saloon is amidships rather than aft that you have it on the X60. Side doors in a similar position, but obviously it splits the seating area here. Forward to the guest cabins. Yeah, this layout is absolutely identical. But yeah, more traditional, and just doesn't feel quite as special. But then it's cheaper. Separate access down to the master cabin. You see this boat has a dinette on this side. Yeah, storage isn't sort of quite as fanciful or attractive as it is on the X60. And you don't get that shower head. Same space though, in the same sort of layout with the walk-in wardrobe. And obviously a key place where this boat feels very different is up on the Flybridge, so we'll have a quick look there just to show you the main difference. You access the other side of the boat to the Flybridge, and then just a very traditional layout. It feels so much smaller than it is. But yeah, you don't feel like you're getting anywhere near as much space up here. It's a clever trick of the X60, it is, it really is. So there you go, that is an exclusive look at the new X60. I think we're the first magazine and channel on board, so I hope you enjoyed that. And there'll be a full test of this boat coming when it's launched. It's going to be launched in 2022, so we'll hope to get out on the water. And we've also tested the 590 and the X70, so we'll link to those videos below this one. You can also search for them on the channel, so yeah, get over there and have a look at those reviews as well. Thank you very much for watching, and see you on the next one.